Can I eat with you? The homeless girl asked the millionaire. His response left everyone in tears. The clink of fine silverware and soft murmur of conversations floated through the elegant courtyard of Jardin, the city's most exclusive restaurant. Crystal glasses sparkled in the evening light, and the air was heavy with the aroma of roasted lamb and truffle butter. At one corner table, Thomas Reed sat alone. A man in his early 30s, Thomas wore a crisp, tailored suit, and the distant look of someone bored with luxury. Plates of gourmet food sat untouched in front of him, perfectly seared scallops, freshly baked rolls, and a glass of Chardonnay that reflected the golden glow of the candles. He had everything: wealth, power, influence. But tonight, as he scrolled through an endless stream of emails, he felt nothing. A little girl's courage is about to change everything. Will it move you too? Outside the wrought iron gates of Jardin, Isla stood shivering. The little black girl couldn't have been more than 7 years old. Her oversized, tattered dress clung to her thin body, and her tiny bare feet were streaked with dirt. Her stomach growled painfully, but she ignored it. She had been watching diners for over an hour, hoping someone might hand her leftovers as they left, but no one even looked her way. A waiter carrying out a tray of half-eaten food paused to toss it into a bin near the alley. Isla crept forward. "Stop right there, girl!" the waiter barked, shooing her away like a stray animal. "Don't you dare touch that! Filthy street kids don't belong here!" Isla flinched and darted back behind a column, tears welling up in her tired eyes. But her hunger was stronger than her fear. Through the open patio doors, she spotted a man in a navy suit sitting alone at a corner table. In front of him were plates of untouched food, bread rolls, roasted chicken, and even a small chocolate tart. Her mouth watered. "Just ask," she whispered to herself. "Just once." She summoned every ounce of courage and walked barefoot across the stone tiles of the patio. Gasps rippled through the restaurant. "Where did she come from?" whispered a woman in pearls. "Isn't security watching the gates?" a man muttered. The head waiter strode forward, his polished shoes clicking angrily. "Little girl, you don't belong here. Leave immediately." But before he could grab her arm, Isla stepped forward, her big brown eyes locked on Thomas. "Sir?" she said, her voice trembling. Thomas looked up from his phone, startled. The little girl's small, fragile figure seemed wildly out of place against the black tablecloths and glittering chandeliers. "Can I eat with you?" The waiter froze mid-step. A hush fell over the patio. Thomas stared at her, his mind spinning. "Please," Isla added softly, clutching her torn dress. "I'm sorry to ask. I haven't eaten in 2 days." "Sir," the waiter said sharply, "do you want me to remove her?" Thomas didn't answer immediately. His eyes were fixed on Isla's sunken cheeks, her quivering lips. Something inside him shifted. Years ago, he'd been a boy like her, hungry, dirty, invisible to the world. He remembered standing outside bakeries, praying someone would spare a crust of bread. No one had. "Sir?" the waiter pressed again. "Shall I call security?" "No," Thomas said suddenly, his voice louder than intended. Everyone turned to look at him. Thomas pushed his chair back and stood. "Bring another plate," he said firmly. The waiter blinked. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. The best you have. And make it quick." Isla's eyes widened. "Really?" she whispered. "Yes." "What's your name, sweetie?" "Isla," she answered. Thomas knelt so he was at her eye level. "Come on, Isla. Sit with me." Gasps echoed around the patio. "Is he serious?" a woman whispered. "A millionaire dining with a beggar child? This is disgraceful," muttered another man. Thomas ignored them all. He pulled out the chair next to him and gently patted the seat. "Sit down, sweetheart. Tonight you're my guest." As Isla cautiously climbed into the chair, Thomas turned to the waiter. "And bring warm bread first. She's freezing." The waiter hesitated, then hurried off, embarrassed. Thomas looked around at the other diners, their faces flushed with judgment and discomfort. "You're all staring," he said loudly. Maybe you should ask yourselves why a little girl had to beg for food in the first place. The entire restaurant fell silent. Isla's tiny hands wrapped around the warm bread roll when it arrived. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she whispered, "Thank you, sir. I thought no one cared." Thomas's own throat tightened as he watched her take her first bite. For the first time in years, he felt something deep in his chest, a flicker of warmth he hadn't known he still possessed. The restaurant patio remained hushed, the sound of forks scraping plates gone entirely. Isla sat stiffly in the chair beside Thomas, her small hands clutching a piece of warm bread. She stared at it for a moment, as if trying to believe it was real, before taking a tentative bite. Tears rolled down her dirt-streaked cheeks as the soft dough melted in her mouth. "Slow down," Thomas said gently, pushing a glass of water toward her. "There's plenty. You don't need to rush." Across the room, murmurs rippled. "Is he really letting her eat with him?" a man whispered. "This is absurd," a woman in pearls muttered, though her voice faltered. One older couple lowered their gaze, ashamed. The waiter returned with a plate piled high with roasted chicken, vegetables, and buttery mashed potatoes. He set it down in front of Isla and stepped back awkwardly, avoiding her eyes. "Eat as much as you want," Thomas said. "No one here will stop you." Isla hesitated. "But don't you want it?" Thomas shook his head. "I've already had my share. Tonight it's your turn." As she ate, Thomas leaned back in his chair, his thoughts swirling. He thought of his childhood, cold nights spent sleeping in subway tunnels, eating scraps from trash bins. He had vowed long ago never to look back. But now, looking at this little girl, he realized he hadn't escaped his past at all. He had only buried it. Isla wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "My mama used to make bread like this," she said softly, "before she went to heaven." Thomas's chest tightened. "What about your dad?" Isla's voice cracked. "He left after Mama died. Said I was too much trouble. Said someone else would take care of me." She stared down at her plate. "But no one did." A sharp pang shot through Thomas's heart. He pushed his plate aside and reached for her small hand. "You are not too much trouble," he said firmly. "You're a child, and you deserve to be cared for, Isla." Around them, a waiter paused mid-step. A couple at a nearby table dabbed at their eyes. Even the stern-faced restaurant manager, who had come to confront Thomas, stopped in his tracks. Thomas looked up and addressed the room. "She's 7 years old. 7. And she's been wandering these streets alone while the rest of us sit here enjoying fine wine and food we don't even finish." The silence deepened. "Look at her," he continued, his voice tight with emotion. "Do you know how much courage it takes for a child to walk into a place like this and ask for help?" No one spoke. A few guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats, guilt flashing across their faces. Thomas turned back to Isla and spoke so softly that only she could hear. "You don't have to beg anymore. Not ever again. I'm going to take care of you." Isla blinked up at him. "You mean you're not sending me away?" "Never," Thomas said, his voice cracking. "You're coming with me. We'll get you warm clothes, a safe place to sleep, and tomorrow, pancakes for breakfast." Isla let out a small sob and threw her tiny arms around his waist. "I'll be good. I promise I'll be good," she cried. Thomas hugged her tightly. "You already are, sweetheart. You don't have to prove anything." A quiet sniffle broke the stillness. The woman in pearls dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. A young waiter stepped back, visibly holding back tears. The room had been silenced, not by wealth, not by power, but by one man's simple act of compassion. Thomas stood, lifting Isla into his arms. "She deserves more than a meal," he said to no one in particular. "She deserves a life." As he carried her out, other diners rose to their feet, not in protest, but in quiet respect. One man left a $100 bill on Thomas's table with a note for her future. That night, as Thomas drove Isla home in his sleek black car, she curled up in the passenger seat, clutching a warm blanket. "Are you rich?" she asked softly. Thomas smiled faintly.